Halloween's almost.
Yeah, good morning. That is Uncle Lou here. That's right. It is me. The rumors are true. It is Uncle Lou live for you on YouTube. It's Monday. It's 9 p.m. and that means it's time for the Lunch Money Show with me and Pigskin Pete. What's up, Pete?
What is that? What you got?
Huh?
Yeah. Was that a leaf blower you had?
Yeah.
What was that?
I had the leaf blower. It's one of those you had to be there deals from the weekend.
Oh.
So, yeah. The good news is Colby is still alive somehow. You haven't heard this? The kerfuffle over the leaf blower?
I guess not, no.
Better not waste time with that now. But Colby's life almost came to an end Saturday over a leaf blower.
Oh, no.
Yeah, him and Jay Shipes had words over a leaf blower. But luckily, I was here as the voice of reason. You know, calm, cool, collected. I had my wits about me, and I was able to diffuse the situation, and now no one is the wiser.
Well, he's lucky that Jay didn't shove that leaf blower up his ass. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was the situation was a bit hairy there for a second, but I'm happy to report that everything is fine. Anyway, welcome to the Lunch Money Show, where me and Pigskin Pete are going to give you the Week 8 football picks, sure to go wrong. Don't forget, fade everything we tell you to do. At your own peril, actually. I've won 4 weeks in a row. So I'm on what we in the business refer to as a heater here. The Gypsy Scuzz Bookie, what lives in a trailer across the river, has had to pay Uncle Lou 4 Mondays in a row. So he can hate me till he's blue in the face as long as he keeps sending me my money on Monday. We'll be fine. Did you come out ahead, Pete?
I broke even, which to me is the same thing as winning.
Yes. Anything not losing is winning. So, yeah. Congrats on that. Now, I accidentally, I don't know how much of an accident it was. I let the comment section get me pissed off on Saturday, which, given the circumstances, wasn't too hard for them to do. And it was at halftime of the Georgia-Auburn game. And, of course, they were trolling me because Georgia was losing, and they were in there with the Georgia's going to lose speech that you know how it is, just like when you're streaming a Clemson game. When Clemson's losing, there's a million people in there trolling you.
Yeah.
The minute Clemson takes the lead, they all go away, whatever. Anyway, they got me all riled up at halftime. And at the time, I was down $250 for the week in the gambling deal, in the Pay Lou movement. And I was talking about the Georgia-Auburn game, and I'm not worried. I know Georgia's going to come back and win, blah, blah, blah. And they were in the comment section basically calling me a liar, and to the point where I said, fine, I'll bet Georgia to win the game money line second half, and I'll bet enough to break myself even. Well, Georgia was such a huge favorite at halftime to win the game, even though they were losing. The odds were ridiculous. Anyway, I bet $630.
God damn.
To win $250 that Georgia would win the second half. And they, of course, did win the second half. Pay Lou. That got me back to even. And then somehow when I woke up Sunday morning, I was up $320. So I obviously bet some other dumb shit too.
Yeah.
And got lucky and won. So I went from down $250 at halftime at a Georgia-Auburn game, which because that game took 9 hours to play, that was like 10 o'clock at night halftime. To up $320 when I woke up Sunday morning. So the Pay Lou movement, full steam ahead. We're going to look to keep it going again here this week. Amazing games last week on all 3 slates. Had a great time over here. Nate the Great was here for 5 or 6 days. He got here Wednesday. I took him to the airport here in Augusta this morning, slapped him in the ass and put him back on a plane and shipped him back to Omaha. 5 or 6 days is enough. You know, I'd had my fill of Nate.
Yeah.
We had a great time. He took me to Top Golf. I had never been there before. We had a good time with that. We went to the mall. We watched a bunch of football, not just on Saturday, but pretty much every day it was here. We watched football, whether it was NFL or other college games on Thursday and Friday. We watched some Major League Baseball. We had a great time. I love Nate to death. Loved having him down here. It's the second time he's stayed with me. He stayed with you last year, Pete. Was that last year?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was either last year or the year before. I think it was last year, yeah.
Yeah, because I think 2 years ago he stayed with me when I was living in the other place. And then last year, I guess that was last year, he went and stayed with you for...
He came to my house for like 6 days.
Yeah, same thing he did here, basically, was with you last year, yeah. And then, so I guess it's your turn again next year, so I'll keep you in my thoughts on that.
That's fine.
We're splitting custody with Nate.
Yeah.
I get him 1 week this season. You get him 1 week next season.
He's fine. I mean, but,
yeah, he's fine.
But I've got, well, you've got 2 kids living there too. But I mean,
he eats.
He eats enough for 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I took him to the grocery store and he bought a bunch of different things there or whatever. One of the things that he bought was an entire bag of frozen chicken patties. Basically already cooked, like you just heat them up, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think it was yesterday for lunch, he ate 4 of them. He made 4 chicken sandwiches.
What?
For lunch. Yeah. And he puts cheese on them and all. He's got a whole thing that he does with that. But yeah, 4 frozen chicken patties he heated up, and I was like, anyway, he's an absolute beast.
Did he overflow any toilets this weekend?
No, and you know what? I'd forgot about that, and it's funny you bring that up. We were on the way to the airport today, me and Nate this morning, and we were talking about, his time here and all that. And he goes, hey, at least I didn't clog the toilet this time. And I said, hey, you know what? You're right. Congratulations, man. Great job.
You get credit for that.
Yeah.
He clogged the toilet at my house at least once, I know of. Yeah. He did it at the Hog Fest too.
Yep.
I think.
Yep. Did it at my house 2 years ago.
He did it at your house the year before that. So yeah, he leaves a trail of overflowing toilets pretty much everywhere he goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
But he had a great time. I did too. I always look forward to it when he comes down. So, so we had a really good time. But yeah, but he's gone, and so everything back to normal here. Everything back to normal here at the Lou Cave. Had a great time Saturday. I don't know, had 9 or 10 people, I guess, come over. Vic, of course, was here. He had a great time. His mom brought him down, and she's great too. She hung out with the lady in the living room all afternoon. So Vic had a good time. Everybody had a good time. A bunch of people came over. We had a great time. They stayed till 11 or 12. I don't know. And then I kicked them all out. The whole, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here type speech. And it was time to go. But anyway, we had a great time. Back to normal now, though. It is Monday. Time for the Lunch Money Show. Time to figure out. Jay installed a bidet over here for me and the lady.
He's been trying to get me to get one because I was talking about that a couple of months ago, and he's like, dude, I bought 2 on Amazon for like whatever it was, $50. And so he actually put it in there for you?
Yeah, he put it in. And the lady went and tried it out, and then she came in here and she was all smiles. She said
So you haven't used it yet?
I haven't, but she's used it, and she claims to have the cleanest asshole in town now. So
wow.
I'll have a report on that in the next couple of days, as far as if that's true or not. I'm sure it is. But she loves it though. So yeah, Jay installed a bidet. He hung up my, he makes those poker tables. He's made several of them for people. And he had hung mine on my wall in my old place. And when I moved over here, I haven't hung it back up anywhere. And he wasn't here 10 minutes. And he's out in the garage hanging that. Before he never even came in the house. Like before he even came in the house, he's in the garage. He's like, where's that poker table? Let's go ahead and get it hung up. He hung the poker table up. A lot of y'all will remember that Herschel Walker jersey that I have framed. It's been out in the garage forever. He hung that up out there in the garage. A bird had built a bird nest inside the light in my garage door opener.
The fuck?
Yeah. And I just was too lazy to do anything about it. So the light didn't work at all now. I mean, the light worked, but it put out no light because it was filled with pine straw and leaves and shit from where a bird had nested in there. He got up there, took the covering off the, garage door opener, got rid of the bird's nest, put the cover back on. And then the garage light has had two, like, I don't like those yellowish looking lights. They look ugly and old to me. I like the new LED lights that are like super bright, like daylight lights. You know.
Yeah.
He changed out the light in my garage for me. I mean, yeah, he did an hour's worth of work when he got here before he ever came inside. And then when he came inside, he went in the bathroom and installed the bidet. So he earned his keep for sure.
Well, he likes doing that kind
He
of
loves
thing.
it. I didn't ask him. I didn't ask him to do any of it. I asked him to hang the poker table up. Everything else, he was just like, well, let me do that. I'll take care of this for you. Let me do that. Here, I got this bidet. I just happen to have an extra bidet. You know, the guy just travels around with an extra bidet in his truck. I happen to have this extra bidet, man. You want to put that in for you? Yeah, Jay, go ahead, man. Me and Jay had a good time, though. Jay is, for those of y'all who've never hung around with Jay, he's got a story for everything. And every story is funnier than the last one. He never runs out of. He's led one of the most interesting lives, I think, of anybody I know, and continues to on a daily basis. He's like, yeah, a lawsuit with my ex-girlfriend just got thrown out last week, so I'm happy about that. And it's just like so much stuff happens with Jay, you forget about half of it. And then I was like, oh, yeah, whatever happened with your ex-girlfriend trying to run you over and all that? You know?
Yeah, well, he's always somewhere else. It's somewhere different every other week, too. He's traveling around all the time. So he gets himself into some crazy situations. But, yeah, Jay's good people. Though.
Oh, yeah, great guy. He's a great guy. He really is. Everybody that came over was super nice. Some people I had never met before. A couple of them I had met at Slob Olympics or things like that before. But everybody was super nice. We had a great time, good food, good drinks, good company, good football. I mean, overall, it was a great day. So I had a good time with that. And I don't know. I guess we'll probably do it again next year, but not until then, though. Everybody, we going to do this again next week? No. No, not doing this again next week. No, that's a one-off thing for this year. We'll see what happens next year. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about the Week 8 games. I'm going to go. I'll start today, Pete. I have no idea what Pete's games are, but I sent Pete my list earlier today. So let me pull it up here, and I'll just pick the first one. Now, these happen to all be underdogs. I didn't do this, and I don't intentionally search for underdogs necessarily, but all three of my picks this week are underdogs. I'm taking them with the points, of course. I don't hardly ever bet the underdog on the money line, although I do think it's possible. Upsets could happen, of course. But I got three games here that I really like on the money line, and I'm going to start with what I think is a pretty good game that's going to fly under the radar this week. Primarily because one of these teams has 2 losses, but I still think they're a pretty good team. It's Boise State. Boise State is hosting UNLV. Now, I don't know if Boise State can make the playoffs even if they win out because they've got the 2 losses. Now, the 2 losses are to pretty good teams, South Florida and Notre Dame, but still, it's so hard for the group of 5 to even get ranked. I don't know that Boise State can do enough to surpass like South Florida or Memphis or some of these other schools in terms of the overall ranking. But UNLV, of course, is still undefeated. They're 6-0, and they have to play on the road at Boise State. They lost to Boise State twice last year, once in the regular season and once in the conference championship game, and we could be looking at a scenario where that happens again this year, at least them playing twice. I don't know if UNLV can go on the road and win this game. Just because Boise State has 2 losses doesn't mean they're a bad team. Again, they lost to South Florida and Notre Dame. And although UNLV is 6-0, they've had some close wins against some not-so-great teams, including this past weekend against Air Force. Now, a bad performance in one game doesn't necessarily mean anything for the next game, but this is clearly the game of the year for UNLV, especially considering the fact that they lost to them twice last year. And UNLV is getting 10.5 points. I'm going to take UNLV in the 10.5 points. I think it's possible UNLV goes in there and wins this game. However, I'm going to take the points, UNLV plus the 10.5, and I am extremely pissed off that I can't watch this game. Now, it is coming on TV. It's coming on FS1 at 3:30. I have FS1. But this game is at Boise State, and I can't watch a Boise State home game. After about 5 minutes, it just gives me a massive fucking headache. I can't stare at the blue field. I think they need to do away with that. It was a cool gimmick 20 years ago when nobody knew who Boise State was, and they were trying to sort of become a bigger brand, kind of like Oregon with the uniform thing 20 years ago. It was, it's what they became known for first. Oregon was, the team with the 100 different uniforms. And now Oregon's a legitimate and a really good team. But so is Boise State almost every single year. They don't need the blue turf gimmick. That needs to go away. I seriously cannot watch a home Boise State game for more than 5 minutes. It just gives me a headache. So I won't be able to watch this game, but I'm going to take UNLV plus the 10.5.
So I hadn't seen the lines. You texted me early, and when I saw that, I was like, "Damn, is Boise really a 10.5 point underdog at home?" I couldn't really believe that. I mean, like you mentioned,
Boise's favored.
They got 2 losses, but one of them's against Notre Dame. So they've only got one Group of 5 loss, right?
Yeah, they lost to South Florida, who's another really good team.
Yeah. So I always look for anytime I scan through the games each week, I'm always looking for the home dog bet to make, and that's one of them. So I probably will make that bet along with you.
Well, no, Boise is at home and favored.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, Boise's at home and favored by 10.5.
Oh, so you're taking UNLV
plus the points.
Plus the points. Oh, that changes everything. Then I don't know what I'm talking about. I was like, damn, boy, I thought you said Boise was a home dog there. I was like, no, that sounds crazy to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll probably take Boise there
to win and cover. Dang.
To win and cover.
Crushing my UNLV dreams here.
Yeah, I think it's time.
Yeah, the Florida fans are gonna like that. They've been waiting on Dan Mullen to lose for a long time now. All right. Well, what's up first for you?
This is one I love. I absolutely love this. This is a Friday night, the one we all love, Lou. The Friday night ACC games, right?
Yeah.
You've got Cal hosting North Carolina. So North Carolina has to travel all the way to the West Coast, and Cal is a 10-point favorite. And you say, okay, well, I mean, Cal's not great. Well, they're 4-2. North Carolina might be in the bottom 3 of the entire Power 4, in my opinion, and there's probably half of the Group of 5 teams out there that would easily handle North Carolina. North Carolina's in a bad way, and I think Cal wins this big. And anything under 2 touchdowns, I'm taking Cal at home to defeat the Fighting Bill Belichick's.
Yeah, North Carolina's coming off of a bye week, so at least they didn't lose this past weekend. But I just don't know if even that's enough to be able to take North Carolina. I agree with you. I think Cal wins the game and covers. You've got the Friday night deal, which always favors the home team. A lot of negativity around the North Carolina program, not even necessarily related to play on the field, just the rumors swirling about Bill Belichick and his job status and the assistant coaches being suspended and recruiting violations and all that. I like that pick too. I like Cal to win easily at home on a Friday. All right, time for my second pick here. You know what? Let's stay in the ACC. Let's do that. We're going to stay in the ACC. I am going to take the fruit. I'm scrolling through. I'm looking for it now. Where's the fucking fruit? I'm taking Syracuse plus the points. Here they are. Okay, Pitt. Overreaction. They go down. They beat Florida State at Doak Campbell. Now they got to travel to play Syracuse. 10.5 points is too many. I'm going to take Syracuse at home plus the 10.5. I do think Pitt probably wins the game, but beating Florida State doesn't appear to be much of a flex right now. And back-to-back road games here for Pitt. So I am going to take the fruit at home plus 10.5 to keep it close against Pitt.
I'm going to actually disagree with you there. I think Pitt's a pretty good team, and Syracuse without Angeli is a different team. I mean, I don't really like the number there, though. Would you say the number was 10.5?
Yeah, 10.5.
Yeah, I don't like that. If I was going to bet it, I'd probably buy it down to 10 or 9.5 or something. Anything under 10, I probably would like. But I don't trust Syracuse, man. And plus, I don't know. You know, with James Franklin being fired, there's all kinds of names being thrown around out there about, his replacement. And Fran Brown is one of them. And he's dealing a lot, I think, this week with a lot of questions about that. I don't know if that's a distraction for them.
That's a good point, actually.
Yeah. And I don't know. What do you think? I don't want to go through make this a whole segment about who replaces James Franklin. But if they were to go after Fran Brown, would you think that would be a decent choice?
I think it's a decent. I think Fran Brown is a decent coach. Here's my issue with the Penn State coaching search. There's only 3 coaches in America who have won more games in the last 4 years than James Franklin. So I don't know how they are going to hire anybody that is going to appease the fan base.
Yeah.
I mean, Fran Brown, he had a good year last year. It looked like they were going to be okay this year. He lost starting quarterback, so hard to judge that, I guess, for this year. But is that an upgrade over James Franklin? I don't. Well, I guess the problem is I don't know that there aren't very. This is the problem, and people are all over me because I liked James Franklin and I kept saying he was a top 15 coach. He is a top 15 coach. Now, I don't blame Penn State for moving on. He appears to have ceilinged out at Penn State, kind of like Mark Richt at Georgia. Georgia fired Mark Richt. Mark Richt's not a terrible coach, and neither is James Franklin. Like I said, there's only 3 coaches in the country who won more games than him in the last 4 years. So Fran Brown, I don't know. That doesn't, I don't know. Matt Rule at Nebraska, he went to Penn State. So I think that's a possibility. I like Golish at South Florida. It seems to me like they need to go off. They're probably going to take an offensive guy is how it feels to me, because the offense has been the problem. So they say, we better go get an offensive guy, make sure we at least get the offense fixed. I mean, I don't know that they'll do that, but that seems like maybe part of the thought process. So maybe that moves Golish up the list. I like Matt Campbell at Iowa State, maybe. But they're not getting Ryan Day. They're not getting Kirby Smart. They're not getting Dabo Swinney. They're not getting Kalen DeBoer. They're not getting, I don't know.
There's one name that you haven't mentioned yet that I'm surprised you haven't.
Who?
Signetti.
Oh, Signetti. Yeah. Now, I think that'll probably be their first call. I think that would be the biggest name that they could probably get, that they have a chance of getting, would be Signetti. I don't even know that Signetti would take the job. Because of the 12-team playoff and rev share and NIL, the landscape has changed a little bit in terms of what are the 10 best jobs? Is Penn State that much better of a job than Indiana? I don't know that it is right now, because if you can get a financial backer at Indiana, then I don't know that Penn State is that much better of a job than Indiana.
I think you're right as far as financially, but I do. And this is the argument I've been having, and not really an argument, but sort of a debate. When I said that Signetti should be the first call for Penn State and he should be top of their list, and Indiana fans came down on me, are like, look, we've got more money. We got just as much as money as them. Just because we're a bigger brand, or they're a bigger brand, doesn't mean we don't have as much money. And they're committed to football at Indiana. And I'm like, okay, I understand all that. I'm not saying Signetti would leave Indiana, but at the end of the day, it's still Penn State's still a top 10 job to me. I don't think in football Indiana is. And so, how old's Signetti? Like 63?
I don't know. The chat's bringing that up too, so I'll Google that. Signetti age.
I think he's 63 years old.
64.
64. Okay, just
turned 64.
Yeah, so it's not. I mean, he's not a spring chicken by any stretch of the imagination, but he's also not 73 like Bill Belichick is. So he's got another 7 or 8 years there, and if they could even match what Indiana's paying, and I think recruiting would be easier at Penn State than it would at Indiana. So I don't know. Look, if you look at Signetti's career, he started at the bottom, and every single coaching move has been upwards.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to say, in my opinion, Penn State's a better job than Indiana. So that would be maybe like the final move for him to head off into the sunset 7 or 8 years from now when he turns 70 or whatever. But he should be on the short list of people they're going to call, whether he takes the job or not. I mean, he's got to be at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry, I was Googling something about James Franklin. Yeah, I don't know what Penn State's going to do. But
the other problem they have is that they've already said publicly that they're looking to hire somebody sooner rather than later. And I don't think Signetti is going to abandon a team who looks like a playoff team right now to announce he's taking the job before the end of the season. So if they do want Signetti, they might have to wait till January to get him.
Yeah, that's another good point. I talked about this a lot last year around the Florida job and Lane Kiffin when it looked like Ole Miss was headed to the playoffs. I was like, there's no way if Florida fires Napier that they're going to be able to get Kiffin to leave Ole Miss in December if they have a playoff game 2 weeks later. So what do you do if you're Florida? And now what do you do if you're Penn State? You got to have a coach in place. There's only one transfer portal now. That's it. That January transfer portal. There is no spring portal. And signing day is still the second week of December. How does any high school player confidently sign with Penn State the second week of December if they don't have a coach the second week of December? So, yeah, I think you're right about that too. Even if Cignetti would be willing to entertain the idea, I don't know that Penn State can sit around and wait till January to have him there. So that might rule him out because it looks like Indiana is headed to the playoffs again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but they took a massive risk here, a massive. The guy's won 10 games, 11 games, and 13 games his last 3 seasons. Do you think whoever they hire, that's 10 plus 11, that's 21 plus 13, that's 34. Their next coach is not going to win 34 games his first 3 years there. It's not going to happen. What's more likely to happen is the same thing that happened to Nebraska when they fired Pelini. That's what's likely to happen to Penn State. Irrelevant for a decade now. I hope they know what they're doing up there. I hope they know what they're doing.
I don't know, maybe I don't know. Cignetti did go there. I think he could win early. I mean, if you look at his record, he's won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
You know, and so, I mean, that's where the whole Google me thing came about with him. It's because he's right. If you Google him, everywhere he's gone, he's won. I mean, including Indiana, which was a dumpster fire before he got there. So, I mean, I would back up the Brinks truck and offer him whatever I needed to offer him to get him there. Within reason. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But there's so many coaching. This is going to be one of the wilder years in recent history with the coaching carousel. We see it every year, but it's going to cause a domino effect. We've already got 5 coaches fired in the Power 4 before the middle of October.
Yeah, and you're a couple of weeks away from having some big name job openings available.
Yeah,
Florida, Auburn.
Yep.
Just to name a few. So Penn State's getting out in front of that, I guess. But I don't know.
Venables is going to get fired too. No, look, it's way too early to say Venables is getting fired. I mean, they're a one-loss team.
Yeah.
So a lot would have to happen for that. I mean, now they have a tough schedule coming up. I agree with you there.
Florida State. Florida, if they can't afford it. I mean, shit. You think Franklin's buyout was high? You should look up. You should Google. What's it? Norvell's is $60 million. Franklin was $50 million. Norvell is $60 million.
I know all the jokes about Dabo. Dabo's not going anywhere. You guys can say it all you want. He's not. No. They're not firing him. First of all, his $60 million buyout. Even if they wanted to fire him, they couldn't. Second of all, they're not doing it.
Yeah.
So.
All right. What's the next game on the list, Pete?
All right, I'm taking an SEC game here. This one might be a little bit off the radar as far as betting for some people. Vanderbilt hosts LSU. Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point home favorite against LSU. When's the last time that's happened? That's what I want to know. It's got to be shit. It's got to have been a long time. But I'm not a believer in LSU this year. I don't think their win against Clemson, now that we know what we know about Clemson, is all that impressive. Their win against South Carolina last week, I guess, was convincing. But again, South Carolina's a team with a lot of problems. On the road, Vandy's only loss is on the road at Alabama. And they put up a good fight in that game. And Alabama is just a better team. Yeah, we know that. But that's a tough road environment to go on. And Vandy put up a fight in that one. This game's in Vanderbilt. Yep. I think Vanderbilt wins this game outright. They're favored by 2.5, so I'm betting Vandy minus 2.5.
Yeah, I like that Vandy had a bye week last week. Not for the obvious, and you get an extra week to prepare for LSU, rest up players, all the stuff we always say. But coming off that loss at Alabama, I feel like they needed a bye week to kind of make sure that it doesn't turn into one of those situations where one loss causes you to lose your next game because you just kind of you're so deflated because you put so much into that one game or whatever. Bye week came at a good time. I think this is going to be a good game. I don't know that I'll bet this one, but you know what? I'm going to take Vandy at home too. I am still not sold on LSU offensively. Nussmeier just doesn't look great. Their running game isn't great. Now their defense is really good, and I'll be curious to see what Poverty can dial up against that LSU defense. I think this will be a good game. I'm excited to watch it, but I don't think I'm going to bet on this one. But for my pick, I guess I'll go with Vandy. I guess I'll go with Vandy to win. But yeah, this is a tough one here for me. I haven't been that high on LSU. I guess the AP must have them ranked 10th because that's what it says here on ESPN.
I don't think they're the 10th best team in the country.
I don't have them ranked 10th. I think I've got them around 13 or 14. I think I've got Vanderbilt somewhere near there too. Boy, at Vandy. Will there be more LSU fans there or Vandy fans? And that's a legitimate, SEC fan bases love to play at Nashville because it's such a, it's a cool city. It's a destination place. So you got a lot of fan bases that, let's say they go to one road game a year, that if their team is playing at Vandy, they'll make that the road game they go to, and they'll just make a 4 or 5 day thing out of it and spend time in Nashville. So you see a lot of Vanderbilt games that have a lot of opposing fans there. And even if they don't, Vanderbilt's a good team, but it doesn't crack the top 10 in terms of home field advantages there. But Vandy might just be a better team than LSU. I mean, it might just be that simple where you don't even have to overthink it. It's just Vanderbilt has just looked better than LSU. That's a possibility. I guess I'll pick Vandy, but I don't think I'm going to bet on that game. I don't think I'm going to bet on that one. But my next one is in the SEC too, and it is, or could be, someone's last day employed. Mississippi State on the road at Florida. Florida's favored by 8.5. Florida should not be an 8.5 point favorite over anybody, period.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't even, if I look over and I see Florida as an 8.5 point favorite, I don't even care who they're playing. I'm going to take the other team. In this case, it's Mississippi State. I do think Florida will score some points in this game, but I think Mississippi State will too. I could see Florida winning at home by a touchdown, but I'll take Mississippi State at the 8.5. And I've already bet the 3 games that I've talked about today. I've already bet. I bet them earlier today. So the UNLV plus 10.5. Syracuse I actually got at 11, and Mississippi State I have at 10. So earlier today, that's what these lines were. So I've got Mississippi State plus 10. I've already bet it in this game. The line, according to ESPN, is down to 8.5 now. But I like Mississippi State to keep this thing close. And if Florida loses, I do think they will fire Billy Napier the next day.
This game is in the swamp, right?
Yes.
So I would agree with you. I'm not going to bet this game. I'll tell you that right now. But I do agree with you. If I was going to bet it, I'd probably bet that way. I'd feel better about it if it was that same line, but it was in Starkville. You know what I mean? So I'm just not going to touch it. But Florida's a team, betting on them or against them, though. I've only bet one Florida game this year, and I've won it. Well, actually, I think I bet 2. I bet the Miami game, too. But, they're a team that's just so inconsistent. You don't know what you're going to get from week to week. And I wouldn't be surprised if Mississippi State went in there and beat them. But I don't feel confident enough about either team to lay real money on it.
Yeah.
So,
this is the first game, by the way, so far this season where I'm seeing more than a handful of Florida fans hoping they lose. That's hard to do. I went through this with Mark Richt in 2015. I wanted Mark Richt fired. I made video after video. Get rid of this guy. I've seen enough. I'm tired of bumping my head on the same ceiling over and over again. Let's try something new. But every week, I found myself sitting there pulling for Georgia to win. Like, I could never get to the point where I went, I want Georgia to lose to force somebody's hand here. So they have no choice. So they have to fire. I could never get to that point. Now, Georgia wasn't nearly the disaster that Florida has become. So I can understand it, but there's been a lot of fans who have been like, I hate Billy Napier, I want him fired. And then on Thursday, they're like, man, I hope we beat Texas. I hope we beat Texas A&M. I've seen a lot of fans already this week that have just said, I hope they come in and put us out of our misery. Because every time they win, this is what the fans feel like. Every win that Napier gets sort of puts him one step closer to being their coach next year, which they do not want, And so they're at that point now where I won't say they're rooting for Florida to lose. That's hard to do as a fan on Saturday when you're watching your team play, no matter how much you hate your coach. But they are at the point now where on the internet, they're like, I hope Mississippi State just comes in and puts us out of our misery. They might.
I believe Urban Meyer. I think he's talking to people there. He knows people there, and I think Billy Napier is going to be the head coach there next year, no matter what. I don't think they're going to pay him out.
Wow.
I don't think it's a Penn State situation where they're willing to let go of him.
I mean, I hope you're right, and so does everybody else in the SEC besides Florida fans. I hope that's the case. And here's the thing: beating Mississippi State won't be enough to save his job, but it might delay. It might delay it. He's going to have to pull off probably 2 more Texas type wins to save his job, is what I think. So that would be potentially Georgia, maybe Ole Miss. Other than that, they play, I think, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Florida State, I guess, are the remaining games. Other than that, they probably have to beat Ole Miss and Georgia. But I don't know. But I have seen sort of a change in tune from the Florida fans who, and they've sort of, I don't know if rooting for their team to lose is the right way to put it, but they're at that point where they're just, almost like putting your dog to sleep. You don't want to do it. You love your dog. If you're an animal guy, like that's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do. When anybody that's ever had pets has had to do it at some point. But you get to the point at the end where you're like, you know what, it's better off. They're in too much pain. They can't get down the stairs anymore. It's time to just. I'm not laughing
at the dog. Comparing Billy Napier to a dying dog that's dirty work.
The Florida fans are like the pet owner who, they love Florida, but look, it's time to put this. It's time to take that one-way trip to the farm.
Yeah. Damn.
So we'll see. So we'll see on that. But I do like Mississippi State plus 2 points. So there you go. All right. What else you got, Pete?
All right. Yeah, I've done an ACC game, an SEC game. Let's switch it up here. Let's move out to the Big 12. Why don't we? This is one of the biggest games of the week, by the way. BYU and Utah. This game's, I believe it's at BYU, right?
Holy War. Yes, at BYU. The Holy War.
Yes. BYU's undefeated, aren't they?
Yes.
And they're an underdog at home?
Yes.
What?
Well, let me ask you something, Pete. Who have they played?
It's week 8. Who have they played is right. I mean, when I was scrolling down this, I thought it was a typo. I was like, so BYU's undefeated. And I get, injuries and this and that with Utah. I understand all that. But BYU is a home dog by more than a field goal at home, undefeated in week 8.
Yeah.
The book tells you, the book, right? The chart.
Of course.
The chart. Yeah, the chart tells you from a betting standpoint, take the home dog, man. What are we doing? I don't even need to know who's playing in this game. I mean, did somebody hurt that I don't know about?
No.
All right. Well, give me the BYU then. Easy.
My thoughts haven't changed. When it comes to holy wars, I root for mutual destruction. Unfortunately, in a football game, that can't happen. They did away with ties a long time ago, so somebody has to win. Usually in holy wars, I root for both sides to lose. But in this case, I'm going to pick a winner here. I'm a buyer on Utah. I think they're really good. Now, they did get waxed by Texas Tech, but everybody else has got waxed by Texas Tech too. And Utah had a great game this past weekend. They blew out Arizona State. Their quarterback is playing at a really high level. Now, I will admit I've not watched as much BYU as I have Utah, but the reason is, who have they played? There hasn't been a lot of big BYU games on that I've wanted to watch. This is one of them for sure. I'll watch it. It's probably the most underrated rivalry in college football, I think. I think the issue with the BYU-Utah rivalry, I think in and around the state of Utah, I think that rivalry is just as big as the Iron Bowl is in the state of Alabama, or the Michigan-Ohio State game is in the state of Michigan and Ohio. The problem is outside of Utah, this game is not nearly as big as the Iron Bowl is nationwide or Michigan versus Ohio State nationwide. Part of that is brand recognition and whatever. But this is like the Auburn Alabama rivalry in that it literally splits families apart on a religious front.
It splits families of 18 people apart.
Well, yeah, but BYU is the Mormon school, Utah is the Protestant school. So you've got if you're raised in a Mormon household, but for some reason you like Utah, you're basically kicked out of the house, not because you like Utah's football team, but because they're Protestant. And the same thing the other way around. It's nasty there, and I like that. Like I said, when it comes to holy wars, the worse they are, the better for me. Just in general. So I'm excited for this game. I think it's going to be a good one. I haven't bet the game, but I do like Utah plus the points. And I mentioned earlier, I rarely take underdogs on the money line. I might sprinkle something on Utah here on the money line. Let me see what the plus number would be on the money line of this game. If they're a 3.5 point, what is it? Maybe plus 140 or 150. Let me look. Let me see.
Utah's favored.
Oh yeah. That's right. Utah's favored. Yeah.
Yeah. So you don't want to bet the money line on that.
Yeah. So, but I'll be taking Utah to win by more than 3.5. Then I don't know. Rivalry games are weird. Texas Oklahoma comes to mind. Turns out Vegas was right again. When will we learn? We tell people, but then we don't do it. Did you bet Oklahoma? Didn't we both bet Oklahoma last week?
Yeah, I did.
That was a weird line, and we know what that means. We've told people what that means, but yet we both fell for it last week with the Texas-Oklahoma game. Anyway, I'm going to take Utah on later points here. I just that the offense is night and day difference from last year. That quarterback is playing really good. Kyle Whittingham's one of my favorite coaches, and I like Mormons less than I like. Well, I
do agree with you, Mormons. Though. Utah's only losses to Texas Tech, and everyone was kind of trying to feel out Texas Tech early in the year. We're over halfway through the season now, right? So, I think at this point we know who Texas Tech is, and they are really good. So I wouldn't classify that as a bad loss by Utah. I just still have a hard time betting against a home dog that's undefeated in week 8. That's all. It's a mental hurdle for me, I think.
Yeah, I get it. All right, there you go. That's 3 games from me, 3 games from Pete. Now, there are a lot of massive games this week that me and Pete didn't talk about from a betting perspective. That doesn't mean we won't bet the games, by the way. Me and Pete pick out, a handful of games at the beginning of the week that we like, and then as the week goes on, we may bet on some other games, and on Saturday, of course, we'll bet on some
I definitely will, yeah.
So, we'll do like we always do. We'll sort of run through the schedule, and Pete, if you want to stop at any whatever game, you just say stop, and I'll just kind of go through the schedule here. Speaking of Friday night games, Louisville on the road at Miami. Now, Louisville took that loss to Virginia, so they're not ranked, but that's still their only loss. So they're a 1-loss team on the road at Miami. Now, Miami's, I don't know if lucky's the right word, but it's a home game for Miami. Now, if this was at Louisville, red lights going off here, ranked team on the road Friday night, but it's at Miami. Miami's favored by 13.5. Forget the spread for a second. I don't think Louisville can go in there and win the game. Do you?
No.
Okay, Miami's coming off a bye week. They've played at an extremely high level against they've got probably the best resume in college football. So it's not a fluke. Their record is not a fluke. Like, they've got good wins. I don't see Louisville going in there and winning. Miami's favored by 13.5. You're an ACC guy. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not betting on this because I think look, this will be the best team that Miami's played. I'm about to say, is it all year?
Well, since Notre Dame, maybe.
Since Notre Dame. So yeah, basically all year. Every time I bet against Miami to not cover, they do cover. I think Miami right now should be ranked number 1 in the country. So I think Miami will win and cover this game, but Louisville is one of the better teams in the ACC. So I'm not betting this, but if I were to bet it, I would probably take Miami to cover. I've been burned by them too many times not to.
Yeah, I haven't bet it either, but I definitely like Miami to win at home. Now, Nebraska, here's an interesting one here. Nebraska has to go on the road on Friday night and play Minnesota. Now, Minnesota's not great, but here you go, ranked team going on the road to play an unranked team on a Friday. And if there's any truth to the Matt Rule interest in Penn State,
Yes.
then maybe you find that out by Nebraska laying an egg in this game.
Yes.
So this is one to keep an eye on. I'm not even telling you to bet Minnesota plus 7.5. But if Nebraska goes into Minnesota and is looking bad, or they look unprepared, or whatever, that could be a sign that their head coach is maybe a little bit checked out. So just something to keep an eye on there. You already talked to Pete about the North Carolina and Cal game. That's also
look. I like Minnesota plus 7.5 at home on a Friday. That's crazy. And Nebraska's ranked, but they're 25. They're not. Nebraska's not that good. I'm sorry to tell people.
Dang.
They're not.
Dang. Okay. Now, Georgia Tech at Duke. Georgia Tech's ranked 12th, and they're undefeated. Okay, here you go. Let's test you. You said,
this is a crazy line here.
Yeah, you want BYU undefeated and an underdog, Duke undefeated and an underdog, or Georgia Tech undefeated and an underdog at Duke. Duke's favored, y'all, over Georgia Tech at just a home game for Duke. And it's not like Georgia Tech. Look, Georgia Tech ranked 12th. Is a product of their record. And I'm not saying that shouldn't count. Yeah. It does count. Hell, I've got them in my top 15. But nobody, and look, I've been high on Georgia Tech since the preseason, so I don't want any Georgia Tech fan or anybody else to take this as a sign of disrespect to Georgia Tech, okay? There's not a soul that has watched Georgia Tech play football that thinks they can compete with Ohio State, Miami, Texas Tech, Indiana, Georgia, Tennessee.
Not even Georgia Tech fans think that.
They're not on that level. That doesn't mean they can't make the playoffs out of the ACC. The reality is they're undefeated, and this is probably the toughest game left on their schedule. I think they play NC State, too. In the ACC, I mean, they play Georgia at the end of the year. Georgia Tech is likely headed to the ACC championship game unless they slip up in one of these spots, and potentially that's this weekend. Now, it would only be one loss even if Georgia Tech loses, so probably still get to the ACC title game. But anyway, this is interesting to me that Georgia Tech's an underdog on the road. I'm going to take Georgia Tech here.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to take Georgia Tech. And I do think, by the way, that they will lose one game somewhere. I don't think they're going to be 11-0 when they play Georgia.
It's probably be the one, though.
They almost lost to Wake Forest. You know, there was that weird blown offsides call at the end of the game that kept them alive. So I don't think they're going undefeated, but I think they win this one on the road at Duke.
I disagree. So the whole undefeated thing I said about BYU, but BYU's a home dog, not a road dog. There's a difference here, and I agree with you. I mean, so I think that Georgia Tech's going to lose one or two games. I don't think Georgia Tech is going 12-0, well 11-0 or whatever. Of course, I don't think they're beating Georgia either. So, but I don't think they're going undefeated in the ACC right now. They are. If they're going to lose any ACC game, this would be the one on the road at Duke. Duke is not a terrible team. And this is where they get caught slipping at noon on the road at Duke. I'll take the Blue Devils here. I'll take the Blue Devils. Georgia Tech's they've fought fire all year, and they've escaped with some close wins. They're not going to continue to get lucky every single week.
I believe that. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Okay, we did the coaching hot seat talk earlier. Here's one neither of us mentioned that I think could be out of a job come the end of the year. But Washington's on the road at Michigan. Michigan just got blown out by Southern Cal. Washington's only loss is at home to Ohio State, and Michigan is favored by 6.5. I think that's ridiculous. I think that's too many points. In fact, I might bet this one right now. I'm going to check what it is on the Gypsy site, but ESPN has Michigan as a 6.5 point home favorite. I think Sharon Moore could be out of a job by the end of the year. If they go 7-5,
I would bet Washington on the money line on that.
Yeah, and 7-5 is a possibility for Michigan if you look at the remaining schedule. I know they beat Ohio State every year. I get it. And look, they might beat Ohio State again. It's a home game for Michigan. But if they're sitting on 3 or 4 losses and then they lose to Ohio State, I really think here's the thing. I think it would be easy for Michigan to move on from Sharon Moore. They're not going to owe him $50 million. He was a assistant coach under the old regime who, you know, all the trouble that went on there. He doesn't have one of these $100 million 10-year contracts. It would be pretty easy for Michigan to walk away from Sharon Moore. 7-5 last year. If they go 7-5 or 8-4 this year, I could definitely see Michigan moving on from Sherrone Moore, and losing this game puts him dangerously close to that ledge. And I think it could happen. I like Washington. They're a well-coached team. They've got a good offense, and Michigan doesn't. And they just don't. You score 13 points. Did they score 13 points against Southern Cal? What are we doing?
That's bad.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
This is a dangerous spot here. This is a dangerous spot here for Michigan.
So I probably will bet that game, I'll take Washington with the points. But I don't usually bet a lot of money line bets in college football. But if I was going to bet one, I'd probably take Washington as an underdog on the money line, whatever that number is.
Yeah, I'm betting this on the spread right now, and then I might sprinkle some on the money line later in the week. But I just bet that one just now too. So add that to my list too of games I've actually bet so far this week. Okay, I'm scrolling through the list here.
I got here. You got the Clemson yet? Let's do it.
No. What time do they play? Here they are. SMU at Clemson. Clemson's favored by 9.5. Now, before you say anything, to me that seems like too many points.
Yeah. So Clemson favored by 9.5. The last time they covered a spread at home was sometime last year. Haven't done it this year against anybody. So it's been a little bit of fool's gold. I mean, Clemson's played good. If you just look at the score and the box scores and the yards and whatnot, and they played everybody on the field. The past couple of weeks, they played the two worst teams in the ACC. And so to me, they look a little bit better than what they actually are. And SMU is a much better team than the last 2 weeks, what Clemson's played. When Clemson plays anybody that has a pulse, they usually have either a loss or a close game this year. All right, so 9.5 points is way too many. I think Clemson's better than SMU, I do, but I'm not buying in, not at all, to based on what I've seen against North Carolina and Boston College. So the offense still looks the same to me. Defense, I think, is playing better, but again, it's hard to judge when you're playing against Boston College and UNC, who have terrible offenses. So I think SMU keeps this close. If hopefully Clemson can find a way to win this game at home. They've lost 2 out of their 3 home games this year. Their only home win this year is against fucking Troy. So Clemson wins. SMU covers the 9.5.
All right. Scrolling on here. Oregon looking to rebound at Rutgers. They're a huge favorite, though. Oh, Texas at Kentucky. Texas is a 12.5 point favorite at Kentucky. Here are the scores of the Kentucky games this year. They lost 30-23 to Ole Miss, 35-13 to South Carolina, 35-14 to Georgia. Those are their 3 Power 4 opponents. They're 0-3 against the Power 4, losing by an average of about 17 points per game. And Texas is favored by only 12.5. This is an odd line to me. I like Texas to win and cover.
I like Texas to win and cover there too, actually. Mr. Duggar says Dabo wants to be like Jimbo. What, fired and working for the ACC network?
Dang. I don't think so, bud. I don't think that's his goal. Ole Miss on the road at Georgia. Georgia has messed around and covered 2 spreads in a row. You heard that right. Georgia has covered the spread against 2 opponents in a row, which is noteworthy because they don't normally do it. Their first half struggles, though, continue to be an issue. In their last, I think it's 10 or 11 games now against Power 4 opponents, they have only had the lead at halftime once, and that was against that lowly Kentucky team we just talked about a couple of weeks ago. They were losing again to Auburn at halftime this past weekend, one of the worst first half performances you'll ever see from a Georgia team, even by Georgia standards. Their first half performance was terrible. With like 2 minutes to go in the first half, Georgia had 20 yards of offense. And then they put together that drive at the end of the first half. But, of course, they came back and won in the second half because that's what they always do. But eventually that will come back to bite you like it did in the Alabama game. You just can't continue to fall behind to every single team you play and rely on second half comebacks. Especially now, maybe Georgia was built a little bit more to do that last year with somebody like Carson, but they're just not built to do that. Georgia wants to get a lead, lean on you, run the ball. they've got to figure this first half thing out. I'm not putting any stock at all into the Ole Miss performance against Washington State last week. I'm just not falling for that. Washington State's a horrific team. Ole Miss squeaks by 24-21. They didn't spend one day practicing for Washington State. I promise you. They have been practicing for this game for 2 weeks, or they will. They practiced for this game last week. They'll practice for this game this week. Now, that's dangerous to do because it almost cost them the Washington State game, but I don't put any stock into that. That is not the Ole Miss team that's going to show up in Athens. Ole Miss won this game last year in Oxford. The year before that, this game was played in Athens, and Georgia destroyed them. They jumped on them early, and they ended up winning by 30-something points, I think. It was just an absolute blowout. I don't think that'll be the case this year. Georgia's got to win this game. It's at home. They made it through the first half of the season 5-1. They've got to make it through the second half of the season 5-1. That will put them at 10-2. But you don't want to lose your first game of the second half of the season, and then you're putting yourself basically in playoff mode against Texas, Florida, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech at the end of the year because you're staring down the barrel of a third loss. Georgia's got to find a way to pull this out. They've covered 2 weeks in a row. They're a 7.5-point favorite. There's no way I would bet Georgia minus 7.5 in this game.
I would take Ole Miss at 7.5.
I think Ole Miss plus 7.5 is a really, really good bet. Now, I don't ever bet against Georgia because I don't want to put myself in a situation where I'm having to root for the other team to score against Georgia to cover a spread. So I'm not going to bet the game, but I do think plus 7.5 would be a smart bet here on Ole Miss. I think Georgia wins the game at home. I think it'll be a close one. But I do think Georgia gets the win. Ole Miss, I mean, I don't put any stock in the Washington State game like I mentioned, but I mean, they beat Arkansas 41-35. They beat Kentucky 30-23. They beat LSU 24-19. Now, there's something to be said for winning a bunch of close games because some coaches lose a bunch of close games. So I'm not knocking them. They've won. They're undefeated. I've got them ranked in my top 5. But they don't necessarily have what I would call a super impressive win outside of maybe the 24-19 win against LSU. I think this will be their toughest game of the year. That was a home game for Ole Miss against LSU. Their only road game was at Kentucky, and they won 30-23. And Kentucky's the worst team in the SEC. I like Georgia to find a way to get the win at home, but there's no way I would lay 7.5 points.
I'm probably going to get. They call it hook for a reason. Everybody call me a fish, I guess. I might get hooked by that half a point. If it were under 7, I'd take Georgia or not bet it at all. But I'll get by that hook. If it's 7.5 on game day, I'll bet Ole Miss.
All right, let's see what else is on here later in the day. We're into the 3:30 games now. Let's see. Texas Tech at Arizona State. Texas Tech favored by 11.5. I'm going to continue to. I've bet Texas Tech is covered every week. Everybody said bet Kansas last week. No. Why? Texas Tech is covered every week. I get it. They're not likely to cover all 12 weeks. Maybe, but I don't know how you could. Arizona State got blown out again. Sam Leavitt's hurt. I love Texas Tech minus 11.5.
I do too.
I'll bet that. I'll bet that. No problem.
Did we talk about A&M and Arkansas already?
No.
Look at the A&M's only favored by 7.5. Now it's in Arkansas, but still.
Yeah. Arkansas gave it a good shot against Tennessee and came up short. Now they get a shot at Texas A&M. Texas A&M's been impressive to me.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. I think they're getting overlooked a little because it's Texas A&M and Texas 8-4 in 1939, and they've never played for the SEC championship and all that. They look pretty good to me.
I think they might blow them out. Seriously.
Yeah, they look pretty good to me. And here's the thing: you look at their remaining schedule. They play Arkansas, LSU. Boy, the SEC office here has Texas A&M playing 3 road games in a row at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri. They're liable to lose one of those. Just 3 road games in a row. It's tough to beat. It's tough to win on the road against anybody. But 3 in a row, I don't know, man. They're probably going to lose one of them. But then they play South Carolina, Samford, and Texas to close out the season. Texas is a road game too. So 1, 2. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got 5 SEC games left. 4 of them are on the road.
Still,
They're not winning all of them, but I do think they'll beat Arkansas.
Yeah.
A little bit of new life there with Petrino running the show, but I don't think they can beat Texas A&M. I think Texas A&M gets that win. They've been impressive to me.
I think A&M's a playoff team for sure.
Playoff team in that? Oh,
Speaking
of playoff teams in that, Tennessee on the road at Alabama. Alabama favored by 8.5.
Tennessee.
Yep. Tennessee at Alabama. Alabama's favored by 8.5. I like Tennessee. I like Tennessee in this one at plus 8.5. Alabama beat Georgia by 3. They beat but Mizzou by 3. They basically beat Vandy by whatever it was. A touchdown?
Yeah.
But then they tacked on that late garbage touchdown at the end, literally with 10 seconds to go or whatever. I think Alabama can win this game at home for sure. I think Alabama's one of the best teams in the country, obviously one of the best teams in the SEC. I think Alabama can win this game at home. But 8.5, I don't know. I like Tennessee plus 8.5, I think.
Yeah, I don't. Their defense is terrible.
Facts. Big ones, too. Secondary, especially.
This is going to be a big day for the Alabama offense. They might score 40.
Yeah, Ty Simpson is going to have some. He's going to have a heyday, I think. But
I just don't think Tennessee can keep up scoring, and so they might be able to keep it close with Alabama for 3 quarters. I think Alabama pulls away in the 4th quarter and wins this by 2 or 3 scores at least.
Well, the Tennessee man's going to be down bad if that happens because they still got to play Vandy, Oklahoma. Who else does Tennessee have to play? Let's see. Who do they play?
They might lose to Vanderbilt again.
At Bama, at Kentucky, home against Oklahoma, at Florida, and then home against Vandy. Man, if Tennessee loses this game,
what's the over/under on that one?
They're probably out of the playoffs.
Is there an over/under? I mean, I'm looking now.
Yeah, there is on ESPN, not on the Gypsy Jones. They don't put the over/unders out till tomorrow over there, but on ESPN, the over/under is 58.5.
I'd probably take the over. Yeah,
it could be a lot of points in this one.
I could be like 40-30.
Yeah, could be a lot of points scored in that one. Speaking of points, what about Southern Cal at Notre Dame? Over/under 61.5 there. Notre Dame scores a lot of points. They've had issues defensively, though, this year. Southern Cal can score points. They also have defensive issues, especially in the secondary. So, C.J. Carr at home should be able to throw the ball around on that Southern Cal defense. But I think Southern Cal is going to be able to move the ball, too. Notre Dame's favored by 9.5 at home against Southern Cal. Notre Dame needs this win bad.
Yeah, I don't know. 9.5 seems like a lot of points to me. But would you say the over was 61?
61.5.
61. I'll take the over. 35-32, 35-28. That's over, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, give me the over on that.
Yeah. As much shit as I give both of these teams, I'm happy that this is a big game here. I still remember watching like the Bush push games, back in like the mid 2000s. I mean, there was some huge games in this series in the mid 2000s. Southern Cal and Notre Dame. This one not quite that big. Notre Dame's got a couple of losses. Southern Cal already has a loss, but still a big game, especially for Notre Dame. Notre Dame needs to beat Southern Cal, and then they need Southern Cal to win the rest of their games.
Yeah,
because this is right now the only ranked team that Notre Dame has an opportunity to beat. This is it. They've played 2 other ranked teams, but they lost to both of them. So they need if they need to win, they need to beat Southern Cal, and then they need Southern Cal to be at 8 or 9 wins minimum at the end of the year. I think they still play Navy, and Navy's undefeated, and Navy may eventually get ranked just by attrition, other people losing, but I don't think anybody's going to look at a Notre Dame win over Navy and be impressed by it. Sorry, I just don't think they are. And if they lose this game, then Notre Dame's best win at the end of the year is going to be Navy. And if that's the case, you nowhere near a playoff, bud.
I don't think they just need to beat USC. They need to blow them out, and then they need to hope that USC wins the rest of their games, like you said. I mean, they're in a bad position.
Missouri plays hapless Auburn on the road at Auburn. Missouri's only a 1.5-point favorite on the road. Auburn is better than every team they've played this year, according to some idiot Auburn player after the game. They're 0-3 in the SEC. They have on a 3-game losing streak, but they're better than everybody they've played. So I'm assuming they're better than Missouri. This is an interesting game. Missouri coming off that home loss against Bama. And only a 1.5-point favorite here at the barn.
I'm a believer in Missouri.
Yeah, I'm taking Missouri.
I know they just lost. I'm still a believer in Missouri. I think they win this game.
Yeah, I'm taking Missouri too. I mean, if nothing else, the referees will make sure Auburn doesn't win, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, well, exactly. Because nobody wants Auburn to win.
Right. The referees are all just out to get Auburn, so there's no way you can pick even if you're an Auburn fan, because Auburn fans
even
are the
at home.
Auburn fans are the ones that keep telling me that the SEC and the referees are just out to get them. So even if you're an Auburn fan, you must know you're going to lose this game, right? Because there's no way the SEC office is going to let you beat Missouri, right? I'm sure the Auburn fans must agree with me.
Damn, Cam Newton saw more home losses last week getting his jersey retired than he did as a starter at Auburn. God damn.
There's one more on here I want to talk about, and I don't know if this is going to be a good game or not. This line is weird. Florida State on the road at Stanford. So East Coast, West Coast deal here. Florida State's favored by 17.5. Why? I don't. Isn't Stanford 4-2? I mean, let me see. No, 2-4. Okay, that's why. They beat Boston College and San Jose State. They've lost to SMU, Virginia, BYU, and Hawaii. So yeah, Stanford really is that bad. Okay,
they are bad. Yeah.
Okay, so Florida State will probably win the game, but 17.5.
So yeah, they'll win the game. But here's the question that I have about Florida State, because we saw this happen last year.
Mm-hmm.
They went 3-0. They lost 3 in a row. You know, they've lost the last 10 out of their last 11 ACC games.
Yeah, that's one of the most pitiful stats I've ever heard.
That's an unbelievable stat.
Yeah.
So my question is, since they went from the highest of highs after going 3-0 and beating Alabama to the lowest of lows, where they're not going to even compete for the ACC or let alone make a playoff, how much of that team is checked out? Their coach is on the hot seat. A team full of transfers. Are they looking at where they're going to play next year, or rather than thinking about this year? So this is what we saw last year with them. I mean, they just gave up.
Yeah.
And so it's not out of the question that that's what they're going to do again this year. So I don't know, man. It would be crazy if fucking Stanford beat them outright, but I would definitely take Stanford with the points. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I agree. There's no way I'm betting on Florida State. They're waiting to go into give up mode. Seems like you said, just like last year. All right, there you go. That's the entire rundown of games. We gave you the games we've already bet on, and then we gave you some of the other ones that we like that we might bet on later in the week. So you guys should be all set. I have ignored the super chats because I'm mentally retarded. Let's fix that problem now. Jay Shipe says, "How do you like the bidet, Lou?" I haven't used it, but the lady loves it. I'll have to, maybe I'll use it. I'll give a report on it, but I haven't used it. Hoghead says, Jay is going to do some neat stuff to my new house I'm having built. Can't wait to see the results. I didn't know you were having a house built, Hog Man. That's exciting news.
Yeah, no kidding.
Penn State Man says, Wisconsin lost to Iowa at home 37-0, whatever the line is for Ohio State versus Wisconsin. Bet Ohio State big. Yeah, that was add Luke Fickell to the list. He's getting fired yesterday, isn't he? This guy, oh my God.
Oh, Lord.
So bad there. So 37-0 to Iowa. I mean, the guy should have been fired at midfield after the game. That is bad. That is really bad.
Maybe hire him as an offensive coordinator for whoever the next head coach at Penn State is.
Yeah, it just ain't working out for Fickell at Wisconsin for reasons unknown. And now they gotta play Ohio State. So it's just gonna go bad to worse there. Thank you for the super chats, y'all. I appreciate it. Sorry about being late reading those. I don't actually have this screen pulled up much during this particular show because I'm looking at the odds and stuff on ESPN, and so I just now noticed the super chats. But I do appreciate y'all helping to support the show. Auburn is spoiling Mizzou's season. What does that mean? Is it season? Like what season is it? It's season, huh? What is a season? And how is Auburn beating Mizzou? They're not. Shut up. The SEC office is not going to let that happen. They hate Auburn. They're out to get Auburn, as are the SEC officials, ESPN, and the Man of the Moon. So you got no chance there, bud. You might as well change your name to Old Dominion Fan since 2025. Because that's what he is. This guy won't stop talking about Old Dominion now. His profile name now is Auburn Fan since 2010. You need to change that to Old Dominion Fan since 2025. Be more accurate. Joler says, is Southern Cal a real playoff contender now? Can I answer that question next Monday after I see them play Notre Dame? I don't think Michigan's very good. Especially offensively. I think they're so bad they're going to be looking for a new coach soon. So a good win for Southern Cal, but I don't know if that makes them. I mean, this is the same Southern Cal that lost to Indiana, who has gotten blown out by two actual playoff contenders, Ohio State and Indiana. So I don't know that we move Southern Cal into that tier yet. But now, if they beat Notre Dame, then reevaluation time for me on Southern Cal for sure. Yeah. All right. That's going to be it. Let's get out of here. Pete, what else you got going on this week?
ACC show tomorrow night with me and the ACC boys. Wednesday night, 10 p.m., the college football call-in show on the Pigskin Pete channel. I'll be live this weekend at 3:30 for Clemson and SMU and whatever games are on at that time. That's it.
Got bad news for you, Pete.
What?
They decided to stop scoring in the second half of the Falcons-Bills game.
No, don't tell me that.
Yeah. 2 minutes left in the game, and there's only been one touchdown total scored in the second half. It's 21-14 Falcons, so they're only at 35 points.
We just need overtime, man. That's all.
Good point.
One more touchdown by that. But how are the Bills losing to the Falcons? What the hell? Oh, damn.
All right, I'll be on tomorrow night, Tuesday at 9 o'clock for the college football call-in show, Uncle Lou After Dark. I do that every Tuesday and Thursday at 9. I'll, of course, be on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. for the college football kickoff show. And I do not know yet what the streaming schedule will be for Saturday, but I will know tomorrow night at 9 when I go on for the call-in show. So I'll let you know tomorrow night at 9 what the streaming schedule will be as far as the games on Saturday. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll see you tomorrow night at 9 on the call-in show. Until then, though, have a good morning.